Hello, everyone. My name is Gillian. I'm 16, and I was able to turn my hobby into a very profitable job that made me a lot of money. But life didn't get any easier because I got in trouble when my parents found out about it. First, I have to say that I didn't live with my biological parents. It's actually my aunt and uncle. They were appointed as my guardians after social services pulled me out of the hell that used to be my home. From that moment, I moved to another city and lived with my guardians for 5 years. You know, if I knew what kind of people they were, I probably would have rather stayed in that hell. But I was 11 years old and I had no choice. So I moved into this house and things got even worse. My aunt and uncle already had a large family, and they had absolutely no space for me. I swear to you, they put me in the closet because the other rooms were occupied by their children. I lived in this closet like Harry Potter, only I knew that there was no such thing as a miracle, and the owl wouldn't bring me the invitation to study at Hogwarts. I always got the worst version of everything my cousins had. I was given my older sister's worn-out clothes. The toys I had were usually already broken by my younger brothers. And of course, my guardians didn't want to spend any money for simple things like a normal phone. So I couldn't even text my friends from school. Of course, I was always scolded for the slightest offense, and they always referred to my mother, who they regarded as a spoiled and terrible person. I always hated to hear that because I loved my mother and I missed her very much, despite what had happened in our family. My mother was a good woman, and she didn't deserve to be treated like that. You might think, then why am I living with guardians? Okay, I'll tell you everything. Until I was 11, I lived with my birth parents. But, as you know, I ended up at my aunt's house, where nobody wanted me. So something bad did happen. My dad was an intern at a company that works overseas, and he went away for a few months. After he came back, our happy family started falling apart. I think he found another woman, and he just wanted to get away from us. So my parents divorced. My father left, and it was just me and my mom. My mother was sad for a long time because of the divorce. At one point, she had a boyfriend, and I thought that soon everything would be fine, but I was wrong. Damn Bill. He began to have a bad influence on my mother, and from that moment on, everything went to hell. At first, they started hanging out somewhere until late, and my mother began to be late for work all the time. She began to treat her work negligently, and soon she was fired. Mom and her boyfriend were pulling out all the stops, and Mom became a completely different person. She was nervous and irritable. She clearly had a drinking problem and lost control of herself. She even showed up drunk at a parent meeting at my school. My teacher noticed this and wanted to talk to her, but my mother started swearing and insulting the teacher. It was a huge mistake. The teacher called social services and inspectors came to our house. They saw the mess and they knew what was going on. Then my mother was deprived of her parental rights, and here I was. But I still loved her, and I didn't think it was her fault. It was Bill who turned my mom into an alcoholic. So all I had left was to just miss her and occasionally chat on the phone with her, with my aunt's permission. I tried to get rid of my boredom by doing what I loved, embroidering with beads. My mom taught me how to do it, and it was my only hobby. On the weekends, I just sat in my closet and embroidered all day. But one day, I had a cool idea. I decided to create not just abstract patterns, but some pictures. At first, I practiced on portraits of celebrities and tried to repeat the famous paintings like the Mona Lisa, and I was pretty good at it. One day, a friend of mine suggested that I start selling these pictures. I thought, why not? Then we went to a flea market and put my paintings up for sale, and it was a success. People were interested not only in the fact that these pictures were beautiful, but also in the fact that they were made by a 12-year-old girl. I sold small pieces for $20, and I was really glad that people liked them. But then I had another brilliant idea. I decided to embroider beaded portraits of people, like made to order. Adults like this kind of thing, so I set up this mini business. They would give me a picture, and a couple of months later, I would sell them embroidery. And I could sell a portrait like that for $200, no less. I had a lot of orders. I spent all day embroidering, doing what I liked. Only now, I was getting paid for it. My life improved. I could afford to buy clothes I liked and not depend so much on my guardians. But life couldn't be that perfect. When I bought a new phone, my aunt noticed it and started asking a lot of questions. Soon, she went from words to actions, and my guardians made me give them half of everything I earned. They said that at my age, I still didn't know how to manage money properly, and that they would give me money for the right things that I may need. There wasn't a shred of truth to what they said. Even when I asked for money for the right things, like a laptop that I really needed for school, they refused and said that it was nonsense. And when a couple of months later, I was still able to buy it with the money I had saved, they got even meaner. They began to take all the money that I received from the sale of the portraits away from me. I tried to hide the money from them, but I couldn't. One day I came home and I saw that my room was a mess. I realized that someone had been rummaging through my things, looking for something. And I was right. My box where I kept the money had disappeared. Obviously, my guardians did it. I tried to make a scene, but they yelled at me and accused me of lying to them. That was nonsense. They stole my money and made me feel guilty about it. It wasn't fair. They just saw an opportunity to steal from me and they took it. And they didn't even feel guilty about it. My uncle even said it was some sort of rent. Those bastards. Rent? For my little cubby hole? At that moment, I began to hate them with all of my heart. That was their real identity. They pretended to be the heroes who sheltered a poor girl, but really, they were just using me. But then something happened, and I realized that I could change my life and be free of these evil tyrants. My mom got in touch with me. She said she wanted to start a new life. She had undergone treatment and rehab and had apparently given up alcohol. She was clean and she wanted her life back. My mother wanted to come to me, and I had to help her. I was old enough to know that she wasn't going to get her parental rights back that easily. She would have to prove her stability. It means she had to have a place to live, a job, and that she couldn't have the bad habits that caused her to lose me. So I decided to make some money and go back to my mom. But it was not that easy to deceive my guardians. I had to come up with a plan to get back everything they took from me. I decided to lie to my guardians about needing money for a school trip. And I said it was important because then I could get an A in history. My aunt agreed, and she said she would bring the money in a minute. And then she went into the bedroom. That's all I needed. So I figured out that they kept the money in their bedroom. I spent 2 months completely dedicated to work. I didn't have time for friends or breaks. I understood that I really needed money and did everything to earn it. I slept for 4 hours a night because I spent the night working. For 2 months of this work, I earned almost as much as I did the whole last year. Of course, all this money was taken away from me, but I already had a plan on how to get it back. Soon, I received a message that my mother would arrive the next day. And in the morning, when I was supposed to be at school and my guardians were at work, I went back home, went into their bedroom, and turned it upside down in search of their stash. I found a thick envelope in their closet. I remembered the approximate amount of money they took from me, and I got it back. I don't want to brag, but it was a pretty decent amount. Then I went into my closet and quickly grabbed all the necessary stuff. I had to run away because I wouldn't be welcome in this house after what I had done. Then I ran to meet my mom. I hadn't seen her in 5 years, and I missed her so much. I can't tell you how I felt when I finally got to hug her. I didn't care what happened in our family before. I was glad we were back together, but the difficulties weren't over yet. When my guardians got home and saw the mess in their bedroom, they started calling me and threatening me. But the thing is, I didn't steal anything from them. I just took back what was mine. They were the thieves. And I gave them an ultimatum. They had to leave me alone, or I would have told everything to the police and social services. What they were doing was illegal, and they would have been punished. I know that there are still difficulties ahead. The money I had saved is only enough to rent an apartment for a couple of months. During this time, my mother needs to find a job and prove her stability to social services. My mother has really changed, and she is very sorry for all the events that happened 5 years ago. I believe in her, and I believe we're going to be okay. We can get through all the changes together because we are family and we love each other. Thanks for staying till the end, guys. Have you had confrontations with your parents about money? Tell us about your experience in the comments, and don't forget to share this video with your friends.